All right, there we go. All right, Q, Q, Q. So one thing that I'm watching on the Qs is that we're still in the WTMA cloud technically, right? So if you are using the cloud as an indicator, you know that we have, I'm just drawing lines so you can see it visually. We have resistance up here at the top of the cloud. So wherever the top of the cloud is, technically as it's flowing and moving with us, you're using that as support and resistance. So we have support sitting around here. All right, so we also have a candle on the 1 day. Is this? Yeah. We need to look see what we have liquidity on Qs. All right, so there's still a target down here that's technically a liquidity target. It aligns with that indicator from Sean. So I'm gonna set an alert about right here. Um, we did sweep. Did we sweep all the way through that order block? Let's see. Today's low was 708.52. You know, I was looking for 708, so I did get what I was looking for. Um, it could go a little bit lower, or it actually could bounce before it goes lower. So what you're looking to see is we have a lock candle, right? We have a candle that is closed under the WTMA right here. This is our lock candle from when we formed the arc. So I'm going to hide the cloud for just a second so we can work with that candle. So I'm going to just take a box. And this is kind of what I was following today. This is also why previous day low was such a battle. If you were following the cues, it was a battle. If you look at the smaller time frames to get under this la yesterday's low. So that was because it's also a lock candle. To go any bearish after this pullback in these candles, once we get a lock candle from the WTMA arc, we need to see another candle follow through closing beneath that low of the lock candle. Otherwise, we can trade in this box, we can push back up, break out of the box. It can go a few different ways. So in this case, we did close technically under the box because we have the body closing here. There's one other thing if you look to the left here that the Qs have a gap to close right here. So if we see additional pullback and we're bearish, and we break through this order block here, the low of that would be 708.50. We didn't technically sweep right out of it. So, I mean, I guess that's still in a play, but if we're looking weaker on tomorrow or even Monday and we get back down to these lows, this continues to be a chance that we close this gap the closer we get to it. So your gap is right here. You just have to be careful to not over predict the move. You know, I know I get hype about stuff and I talk about it, but at the same time, when I'm trading, I'm not over predicting the move. That's why this morning in Discord, I said, don't expect much more than the potential sweep right here to get to like 708.50 or so. Although we see that gap and, you know, as we're seeing pullbacks, and at some point this was all red right here, we pulled all the way down, you get excited and start to think we can get more. I never anticipate more than what's in front of me until it's proven by price action. So that's just a tip for you guys, just to remember, don't over predict. Even though you have targets and you see it, still trade with a plan that helps you to stay focused on your first target. Once we see that price is actually validating the next move or leg up or down, that's when you start to that BOS might, yeah, I agree. That's when you start to focus on your next target, right? Because your previous target becomes now support. I mean, resistance that becomes your ceiling if you're bearish, or vice versa if you're going to the upside. So what you'll watch in the cues is we still have to remain under 712.61. And if we get back in this box, you're just setting an alert. And the way you set an alert in a box, I don't know if I showed you guys, you just click on the box. You can set it to where it's entering the box or exiting. So since we have a candle that is outside of the box, we could technically right now set an alert that says if we get back in it. Um, That's one way to do it. Or if we were trading inside the box, I would set an alert that tells me when price gets out of my box. So I would change it to where we are setting it to an exit. Or, there's other things you can do. So, yeah, that's the goal here is if we're bearish, we're going to come down, I think, to close the gap. Don't forget that we have a gap to the upside as well that we left here. It's a really nice one. So it could come break like around here and then at some point close this gap. I mean, we left a pretty big gap. So we're kind of, if you look at it, wedged in between where it can go either way because we're sitting in a lot of demand right here. We have this fair value gap we've chopping through and an order block. And I think tomorrow we maybe complete the mission down, but I don't know. Maybe we go back up. We'll just have to see. Any questions on what I just explained? I feel like that was a whole lesson, really, but a good one, a good example on this chart that I wanted to
Yeah.
cover.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? Outside the box and inside the box again, please.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
when you make your box,
Uh-huh.
right? Like if you draw a box, so I have it on this lock candle. One, you can leave yourself notes, right? You can say this is the 1 day
Uh-huh.
lock candle because I have to see things visually. All right, so now I know what the box is there for. Now, if you click on the box and you go to your alerts, you can set it to when where price is. I guess I would set it right now to entering the box because we're outside of it.
Uh-huh.
You can also set it to where if you're inside the box and price is trading in that box, you can set it to where you get an alert whenever it's exiting the box.
Uh-huh.
And then I never tried the inside rectangle or outside alerts, but I mean, that's other stuff you can play with. But yeah, that's kind of what I do. I either use entering or exiting, depending on where price is when I draw the box. And that way, again, if you're not really paying attention to it, you'll still get that same alert once you see price getting outside of it.
Got it.
Oh,
Thank you.
you're welcome. I wanted to add, you know what? I want to add AYN. And I also need my VRV key. Is it 200, 100? I always ask that. I think it's 200, 100.
Yes, it is.
Thank you. All right, let's see if we have any signals from AYN on buy sell. So last signal we got on the 1 day on AYN was a buy, man, all the way down here off the 200. Perfect trade, really. It came right before and then we pushed back down, but anticipating that bounce, and we had talked about this when price was getting closer to 200, that we would get that bounce mo more than likely because we had been away from the 200 since like April. So this was actually a perfect trade if you anticipated the move to break out of away from the 200 and come back and test the 12. And then to go higher, of course, you have to break above the 12. All right, so the cues, we'll look at this candle, this lock candle as our reference point for really until we see that it's either validated or invalidated and we push back up. On the 4 hour, let's see if we got any signals with AYN. So see AYN signal to sell all the way up here. Um, and we hit that 4 hour supply. And really, it's a tough one right here. You see, we tried it twice, and then we got that pullback. So we're sitting at the 200 on the 4 hour. I believe on the 1 hour and the 2 hour as well when I checked. Yep, 2 hour. And did we close on it on the 1 hour? We closed off of it a bit. So yeah, we'll see what happens with the cues, guys. They could kind of go either way. But let's go to another chart. So we had AMD. Oh, so AMD is chopping. Is that a bearish order block in the green one? Um, AMD is chopping down. Let's see if we zoom out what we're looking at. All right, so definitely set an alert. Oh, we've been here. We wicked in this area here, but I'll just put an alert somewhere down here in case we get back right here. AMD is already below the body of last week's candle. It does have a very long rejection right here on, I'm sorry, the monthly chart. This is the monthly chart. There is a fair value gap all the way down at 340. I'm not saying we're going to get there anytime soon off the monthly chart, but it could happen. Hold on one second. One of my little ones got out the shower. Okay. So, looking at the weekly chart on AMD, we're basically still just chopping. I feel like when we covered it before or I did a video, we're just chopping on the 12, and that's kind of still what's happening. We technically haven't broken out of last week's range. We tested the high, we didn't break out of it, and we wicked at the low and didn't break under it. So we're kind of in that range. Maybe tomorrow you'll see something happen on them, but let's look at let's just keep zooming in and see if we see any clues. On the 3-day chart, we're off the 12 EMA, so that's a clue, but we're just kind of topping at the very top of an all-time high. Let's see what the 1 day. This just looks messy, but it is tradable. It's like really good trades actually, but it just looks because we're at the top just doing all of that. Let's see. Right, so we have an arc. Let's validate the lock candle. It's actually this one. So you can draw your box around this candle here. Yep. So we can do a box on AMD like this. Same alerts and see if you get your break. Now we're off of the 12 EMA. Yep, we're off of the 12 EMA. We are also trading still within Wednesday's candle, which was a negative 1797. So yeah, I mean, honestly, just draw your box on AMD and set an alert. See if we break out of that box or not. And then if you look so we would be exiting the box. Price needs to be out of the box to validate. If you look here, we could do a little bit of a gap up if we don't break the box and we just kind of trade in that range still. But your box remains valid because maybe Monday we would do something. So don't just neglect if nothing happens tomorrow, doesn't mean that it can't happen Monday. There is a bit of a space here and a gap that it can jump up to. Looking at the VRVP, and then you see that there's a lot of demand sitting here in this order block here, and we have this wolf demand zone right inside of it. So what you want to see is really just price breaking out of the box. So I just would draw a box on AMD. Right now your signal is still one. We're still technically bullish from the big move that AMD has made. However, we're pulling back on the 1 day. You can see it off of the 12 EMA. Any questions on AMD?
No, thank you. I love AMD.
You're welcome. Yeah, this one is kind of simple. I'm just going to set an alert and see if price is going to break that box. I may trade it Friday.
I have a question.
hmm
You had said that this you said this Zoom will be available for us to go back and look at. Where would I be able to find it?
I didn't really want to post it on YouTube, so I'll probably just post it in the Discourse with the passcode for you
Okay.
guys to access it. Yeah, but it'll
So
be
will it be like in
available.
the general in the back in the general channel or which one? I'm just asking so I'll be able to go back and look at it.
If you're in my Discord, I'll just post it where I re save all the recordings. If not,
Oh, okay.
I'll just post it in the main chats. I'm still gonna post it in Sean's Discord and Creole's for you
Okay, yeah,
guys
because I
to
don't think
rewatch.
yeah, okay, because I don't think I'm in your Discord or something. Okay, want to make sure. Okay,
Okay, and I'll tag you guys.
okay, thank you.
So yeah, AMD, I'll keep it simple, but we make it a good trade if it breaks out, honestly. Um, Let me look at the four
Yeah,
hour
and
real
that look
quick.
at that red WTMA is crossing over in the flat cloud.
Yeah, I think it's confirmed. And look how look right here. You see the cross, the 12 and
Mm-hmm.
the 200. This is your support, which aligns perfectly with the box. So, I mean, if we pull back, there's a chance we get liquidity somewhere around 452 and the bottom of this 200 on the 4 hour if we just keep getting weaker here. So yeah, it could definitely pull back much more. I do see that it did a sweep. So just kind of be mindful of that. We technically did a sweep down here at this support line, and it's a pretty thick support line. So your clue really will be AMD breaking out of that box. And I would make sure it's a confirmed, you can drop to your smaller time frames to manage it, but yeah, it would be a confirmed trade right outside of the box. You can trade the inside of the box, of course, for your day trades, but a bigger clue that we're kind of breaking down would be that.
Hey, Hel, so I got a quick question.
Uh-huh.
So you say if it breaks out the box, we should be looking for calls, but how would you play that? As soon as it breaks out, or should we look for a retest to the top of the box?
Oh
And
no,
and, and what time frame? Sorry, go ahead.
I didn't not calls, because you have a bearish arc.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we're basing the box off of a bearish lock candle, a bearish arc.
Gotcha. Okay.
Now
Okay,
again,
so the same thing applies. So you would wait, like what time frame should I be looking for? Should I wait for it to break and come back for a retest, or that's the thing that gets me, and I'm a little confused on, how to play that.
yeah, you could wait for the retest. But I mean, what if it doesn't? So you're just gonna see how your candles perform outside the box. Once you get candles, I'm sorry, hold on. Oh my gosh. Once you get candles outside of the box, we still have demand here if you look at it from the 5 minute. So you still could play it cautious and make sure that we're actually getting lower. Or you can trade to like the sweep. Like if I took a trade and AMD gets outside the box, I need to probably keep my puts within a range of like in the money or definitely no more than like 455 out of the money to see if we would push down here. To go lower, we'd have to actually break the support on the 5 minute too. So don't neglect that. But yeah, you can wait for a break and retest. That's a very good validation. It's just sometimes if volume is taken over, you may notice it too with like the ORB, like it just doesn't come back for a good minute
Yes,
and
yes, and it doesn't come
retest
back,
it.
and then you feel like you missed the play already. Yep, you're right.
And sometimes what you do is, again, use your candles as your clue. So we get one candle out of it, another continued candle where we're breaking and consuming the body of that one, and another one, you see that we're definitely going down.
Gotcha,
Mhm.
gotcha.
And then we could sweep here on the 5 minute, push back, get your retest, and then do it all over again. So I use my candles as a clue. Like if we're not getting that retest validation, I'm not going to just hesitate to jump in the trade. When you do that and you're doing it without a retest, you got to know like, okay, we could one come back and retest. And also if you're entering before any retest, you also have to be mindful, okay, if we do get that strong push, maybe like open up and it's pretty aggressive, it could just sweep here on the 5 minute, then come back and do the retest. Are you going to just hold right here on some ODTEs, or maybe it's better to do a rinse, right? And then a repeat, do it again.
Yep, 100%. Thank
That's
you.
kind of how I trade it. You're welcome. I try not to miss out just because the retest isn't kind of happening. And then next thing I know, it's like down $20 before we even find support. Okay, let's see. What else do we have? We went over AMD. Dang, MU is already breaking out of yesterday's high. I mean, today's high. Yep. So here's what we're looking at with MU. And it actually looks pretty good. We basically pulled back after this liquidity sweep. And look how perfect this lines up, right? I have the liquidity indicator on, and so we had a hit here on this target, and then you can see where it aligns with this target to the left. So what MU did was pull back to the 12 EMA. So your watch with this one is whether or not we can hold the 12, hold above yesterday's today. I guess I'm in Friday because I keep saying yesterday, but today's high and try to do it all over again and actually clear this supply. If they do clear this supply, they have a nice little opportunity if they break above, I guess you could say 1037 or so. They have a nice little push to the top of this WTMA cloud. So we're technically at the bottom of it and trying to climb our way up. So this one, I can't say that you can really go to bearish, and because we're at an order block, you kind of want to have a full trade plan. I've been running a trade plan on MU, so I'll post it. Yeah, look on the weekly chart. We tried to, now I don't like this. We did try to break above the high of last week's candle. We are trying to hold above the 12, so that's not so bad. Really, next week can prove some moves for MU if we can do that bounce off the 12 and push higher. That could be a play on MU. But they're bullish. They just came back, retested a 12, kind of chopped around it. And this may just be our first candle where we bounce back over the 12 on the weekly chart. I'm not really mad at that. On the monthly chart, you see how the 12 is like rushing up to price. So yeah, it's in a good position to kind of make another move up if it wants to, based off of the 12 EMA. So I think your watch will have to be this candle, that 1036 or 7. If you see price definitely holding above that once we get there, that's another clue I think that we can push a little bit higher. And again, try to get to this target up here. And there's a break of structure right here as well. It's a break of structure that when we came back a few times, we just failed to hold it. I think you guys remember when we were waiting on a break of structure all the way down here. I don't know if you were believing it, but see how price always comes back and gives you that test of the breaker structure. So you can almost flip them to like support and resistance on your wolf chart. So then you see we have a breaker structure down here as well, a bearish one. Price came back up from it, retested it, and then we didn't go any lower. So yeah, MU, it could go either way. You'll watch to see if we do this breakout here. And if you start to see us breaking down, there is an untested order block right here. And we also see a gap. If you look closely, there's your gap right here. From this candle to this candle, there's a gap. So the best thing to do, have a trade plan on this one. Hey, Keith.
Hey.
I know I'm late. I know it's a late live. All right, let's see. So, any questions on MU? I think your main watch is just going to be the 12, and then if you're using the WTMA, kind of pay attention to that too. Maybe just mark the high and low of today's candle and then see if we break it or not.
Hey, is there something that I need to do on one of my indicators? Because I'm not seeing that order block that you saw on MU.
Let's see. Honestly, I don't go in and change the settings too much, so it should.
I'm sorry, never mind. That's my fault. I'm looking at MUU.
Oh, okay. I try not to change too much and break my settings.
No,
Let's see. AVGO. Oh, nice. So AVGO, oh, I mean, it's not nice. The chart doesn't look good, but On the one day, um, I don't know. It's trading outside of the 200 cloud, so that's not that great. Let's see what kind of gaps we have in this chart. While we close this gap, there's still this gap all the way down at 334.15 right here. So there's still a gap in this chart that you're just getting closer and closer to the more it pulls back. But let's just kind of look at price action. All right, one thing we have is we are outside of the 200 cloud, the body of this candle closed outside of it. We do have this wolf supply, wolf demand, excuse me, right here. And maybe if we got under that, your next target would be this 353, 352 range right here. And the weaker we get,
I love throwing that shit behind
let me mute everyone.
them. Because they already, I'm right here. They want to go this way.
Hey
If I'm staying
guys,
far
you're
behind.
not
Can you mute
muted. I can't, I'm trying to figure out how to mute.
Roy?
Okay, I think I got it. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so the lower we get on this chart, technically, especially if we lose the support line right here, look at where we're coming back to. Um, we you can see this was once a wall from like December all the way to like April 2026. So that's why I say always look to the left and look at the battle here. So when we come full circle, you're going to want to see this hold as support. And it looks like they may be coming back to test it because look at what we did. Once we finally broke it, we've we've been on a run with ABGO ever since. And so they're finally technically coming full circle. And then if you look at the VRVP, losing here validates us having volume right where we close that gap. So I think it's worth it to have a trade plan on AVGO. Kind of lean and bearish that it does at least come to this support line, and then potentially the weaker it gets, it it solves the problem of closing this gap on the one day. It's already closed a few gaps that it's left in all of this mess right here. Let's look at the weekly real quick. You notice I'm kind of just only looking at higher time frames, and then you can kind of just build your plan from that. You're good, Roy. I just be making sure y'all don't say nothing crazy and you're not muted. Equal highs. Yeah, it has equal highs here. So this would have been a nice catch. If you caught it earlier, I wasn't really paying attention, honestly, to ABGO, but yeah, it's been on a pullback for a minute from this candle, this wick, honestly. So yeah, it looks like it's coming full circle, closing a few gaps, revalidating that support on the one day. So I would really watch that. It's like a key target. So if you're breaking down and you get into puts, then you're watching to see if we test the support and sustain, like if it holds. If it doesn't hold, then you're looking to see if we come close that gap. And then there's more support right here, a nice juicy area of demand all down here. Yeah, so that's AVGO. I don't see too much goodness in this one on the one day because we're under the 200 cloud. The last support I would look at is here before I start saying we're definitely going to come and clean up this gap that we have right here. Um, Honestly, I go as far as I need to go. Like I remember when UNH was like really high, and then it just started having all these things. The CEO was killed, I believe, and other news, and it was like dumping like crazy. I had to go deep down into like the 2022 to start looking for where we can go. Another example is I think it's Roku. So you see Roku, if you guys have been watching, I've been kind of saying like pay attention to this one because it's been creeping up. Look at it, it's just going, going, going. Well, I had to kind of go all the way back and figure out where it's trying to go. Like you can see, we have this area right here. I think it's going to try to come get this break of structure right here, and retest it. We came back and retested it here, and we lost. And you see how low they've been for a minute. Not a lot of people are paying attention to Roku, but they just been on a creep for a minute, and I don't think it's done. They just keep going. There's earnings in November, so there's plenty of time for it to come here. But at some point, because we hadn't been there in so long, I had to look pretty far to the left to see some clean targets. And when you do that, you can start to see like, okay, where outside of what the wolf chart already supplies, right? Because you can see before we get to 176.47, we'll probably get here. So while we're speaking on Roku, just again, make sure you have this one on your radar. The spreads can be a little crazy, but if you get in at the right entry, right price, and a good contract, you can see what it's trying to do. So maybe we get a pullback to this breaker structure to retest it, and then you'll probably see them maybe test a 12 and then do another leg up. But it is one to watch. So as far as I need to go back, that's how far I go. It just depends on how long it took that stock to come back to wherever it's coming to. Dell, I've seen a few people on Dell because it did pull back, but I mean, look at it, it's still above the 12 EMA on the weekly chart. It had a break of structure from last week and it kind of lost it, so I guess you can watch that to see if we get back above that break of structure. It tested the top of this 12 EMA cloud. You're welcome. Let me see what the monthly. I'm not going to try to over predict, but technically we haven't come back to this fair value gap on the 1 month. So if you do see Dell getting weaker, you definitely want to set an alert because I don't know, when price gets to these 1 month fair value gaps, this is where you really want to pay attention, those higher time frame fair value gaps. And you want to see what happens once we get there. Can we sustain? Does it hold? And I'll give you an example because we had one on the QQQ chart. So I knew once we got here, we better be careful because we pulled back to that fair value gap. So as much as you want to go lower and lower and lower because everything is selling off, I knew we were selling off into a fair value gap. And you can probably see it in the weekly as well. We did it here. Well, technically we're in the weekly fair value gap. Our last little bit of hope on this one may be to get to the middle point right here, and then maybe squeeze lower. But so far, you can see what price is doing in this weekly fair value gap. It's still pulling in. So for Dell, if we're looking at the chart, again, the weekly is technically still bullish above the 12 EMA. Let's walk it down. On the 3-day, we're at the 12 EMA as well. Oh, nice, a sweep. Did we sweep this range already? Oh, it's an order block inside of an order block. So we're technically, hmm. Okay, yeah, so we're watching this candle right here, the low of this candle. We swept here, but it didn't give too much of a big reaction yet. So I don't know. You need to watch Dell and make sure it doesn't lose this 430 area. If it does, it'll come back to 427 and then maybe pull back lower. Maybe retest this trend line again. I don't know. But I wouldn't try to sell it without a good validation because again, it's sitting in an order block here and it swept it. Now, if Friday yields you a pullback, you see kind of what the VRVP is doing right here. That could get a little sketchy on a pullback. So we want it to respect the low of this candle right here for 3101. If it doesn't, then you could see this one selling off a bit more before it finds support. They have earnings in September, so Keep it on watch because wherever it finds support, they may start creeping in and getting into positions for earnings if it's gonna try to make a move up ahead of earnings. But yeah, I don't know about this one. It can go either way. You just don't want it to lose this demand right here.
Hey, before you go too far, can you explain the importance of that candle that you was talking about? Why it's
Mm-hmm.
important?
Sure. Okay, I'm just looking on the 4 hour. You see the sweep right there? Yep. Really? All right, so we need to add IBIT on our watch list. I'll show you guys in a second. All right, so the reason why I'm measuring that one is pretty simple. It's just because this is the most recent order block we created. So you see we have this order block right here that was created by this candle. So you're kind of just measuring the whole candle as support and resistance. And then you have this order block right here. And so I'm measuring the high and the low of it. So the low, if we lose that, that's almost like support. And so when I hover over it, the low is that 431.01. So you kind of just can mark yourself a note here, and I would just set an alert and see if it happens. If it doesn't, you're paying attention to whether we start pushing back up because there's also a very nice gap here with the VRBP that can push you back to where we're testing the 12 EMA.
Okay, got you. Thank you.
You're welcome. IBIT follows Bitcoin, so if you're it's also very affordable, by the way. And I have been watching it, but I totally missed the fact that we had a whole floating candle on the one day that looks really good. And then look at the continuation here. So we'll put IBIT on our watch list. Overnight is already up with Bitcoin, but you see it can push back all the way up here. So there's still a trade available in this space. And honestly, it's very good profit for a good cost for contracts. You'll look to see if it breaks out of this 200 cloud. Like it can push all the way up to it, but if it pushes up, a few stocks did that recently and doesn't break out of it, it's going to pull back first, validate the breakout, and then make the next move up. So as Bitcoin is moving, keep your trade plans up on this one. Yeah, MSTR too. There's a few of them, and MSTR does really good with Bitcoin. I don't know. I haven't looked at that chart in forever. Ooh, I'm not really mad at that. As low as they are right now, they just broke outside of the WTMA cloud. Look at the consolidation that it's been in, that it just broke out of. So, yeah, we can keep that one on watch too. If it breaks this wall right here, then you can kind of see what the target is. It's gonna like get to this fair value gap and probably really get right here to 200. All right, let's see. Thank you, Tammy. It does look juicy. What's another stock we had? All right, so we'll do a few more, guys. I don't know, we might not make it to Meta. Um, let's do IWM. I mean, I see a nice target in IWM right here. Really nice. It also is trading outside of the 12 EMA. Okay, it's trading outside of the off the 12 EMA cloud. It is also outside the WTMA cloud. There is a gap here, right here. So we'll look to see if it'll come down and close that gap. That's like a 296. And a lot of times I don't anticipate, like I told you guys, more than what I see first. And so my first thought would be this gap fill if we see it pulling back on tomorrow. It's kind of midway retracing up on the candle from today. So we'll just have to see like if it actually pulls back down. I don't really trade IWM too much. I've caught it a few times. It's above the 12 EMA and the 12 EMA cloud on the weekly chart. Not bad, not bad. Trading at highs. But yeah, the 1 day is kind of telling. It's probably gonna fill this gap right here. Look at the VRVP where we have volume sitting right with this candle here. So I would watch that as a potential setup. Probably just play like ORB on it. Let me look at the 4 hour. Yeah, it's outside the cloud here too. The 200 sits all the way here in this order block. Has been pushing up to catch up with price. So that may be a good connect as well for the 200 to catch price. Especially with them pulling back. This was a nice gap right here. So IWM, it's on a pullback. You're looking to see whether or not it'll close that gap I was showing you guys. There's a chance that if it just keeps pulling back, that it's going to try to connect with the 200. Let's see the last time on the 4 hour. Wow, we've been on the 200. All right, so we broke out of the 200 in April. And as you can see, IWM has not touched it on the 4 hour chart. Came close right here, but that doesn't look like a touch. Maybe a wick. Yeah, barely did anything. It didn't touch it. So maybe this time it actually connects. But as you can see, the 200 is just moving with price up. So it's really just trying to catch up a price. And so what you want to see is once it connects on the 4 hour for sure, it holds that support. There is volume sitting right here. So if they do keep pushing IWM back, you can see where we have a good decent amount of volume in this range. And so you want to be careful if you're shorting it once we start to get right here. All right, I'm gonna do Meta and then I probably need to wrap up. I do think we need to have a trade plan on NVIDIA, so I will put one out there, but we'll do Meta because we did sweep the 4 hour on NVIDIA. All right, so on Meta, what I'm watching to see is I'll have to stop, but I meant to do a trade plan on Hood. So if I stay up a little bit later, I'll just post as a trade plan on Hood for reference. I won't cover it on this live. What I'm looking for on Meta is whether or not the 200 on the weekly chart is going to hold. We've been chopping around it, but you can see like we're getting weaker and weaker. It's going to push us to where we could potentially maybe like sweep somewhere around 520s if we get more sell off. So you gotta be careful with Meta. I'm not bullish on it actually. The only thing I told you guys in the week was that we could push to like the 550s. And we did. Let's see, the 3 day has a gap right here. So I'm sure that supports the 1 day too. Yeah, so 540 has been holding pretty decent as support. And the candle that I'm watching on Meta, let me just see if I can validate that. Yep, it's the right candle. Is this one. So Meta's going to be the same case. To make things easier for yourself, just draw a box around Tuesday's candle. That is your lock candle. That's the candle to follow. And that's the battle. So you can see we've been trying to hold here in this box right here. So if Meta can hold, it does have a nice opportunity to push to the 560s and get to this fair value gap and maybe even try to reconnect with the 12 EMA, close the gap to the upside. So be careful sharding it. I'm telling that to myself as well. I've been getting some nice little catches in shards, but you can see you have to take profit where you have it because support is holding between like that 540 and 544, well, 543 range. So that's the story of Meta. It's actually a good trade up or down, whatever we do catch. Um, Ideally, I'd like it to come push down here and get this sweep at least to 530. Lower would be like 520s. But if we see that it's going to do something different, like push up here, I'm not mad at that either. That's still a good trade. So try not to go too bearish or bullish tomorrow and Monday on Meta. Just see what direction we have. Clearly, we can see it's on a pullback, but you don't want to be caught shorting it before it tries to maybe retest some resistance and then pull back again. But I do like the idea of it coming down lower. I do agree with a lot of people that the 520 is pretty attractive for a sweep. especially since we keep coming back to this space right here. It would be nice for them to come down and go ahead and do that. So tomorrow's watch on Meta, make it simple for yourself. Previous day high and low along with your box. And then you can just do your confirmations through your ORB on like the 5 minute. Any questions on that? So yes, I keep saying look at Meta, and I want 520, but I'm not gonna miss out on money if we gap up. I'm gonna say outside too. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up here. I will make a trade plan for Hood because I am interested in that one. And I will also do one for NVIDIA. And then I've given you guys a few ideas for the ones that we did cover. You're welcome. Thanks for joining. I know it was late. Have a good night.
Thank you so
You're welcome. Bye.